Ballers, what's going on? It's Preachy, and today we're looking at the Unholy DK in Mists of Pandaria beta. We're going to be looking at all the little things that have been switched up about our Unholy DK, how that's been modified by Blizzard for the new expansion, and how you guys can expect to see your Unholy DK played out once this expansion hits. Of course, things are subject to change, guys, don't worry about it, but we're likely to see minor tweaks here and there. We're not likely to see mega super changes, so we can take pretty much what we need here and then put that into practice once Mr. Pandaria goes live. Let's talk about the little things, and first and foremost, my god, Blizzard, this is garbage. The old way was so much better. I have no idea why you decided to change it to this core abilities that you think matter system. It's just not gravy. I don't like it. I think Blizzard needs to redo this, and I'll tell you for why. What's missing from that screen? I'm a new player. Let's pretend I don't know jack about World of Warcraft, but someone says to me, DKs are gravy train, baby. They are all you need to play. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to be an Unholy DK. What do I get as an Unholy DK? Well, I get Scourge Strike. That sounds pretty cool. I get Festering Strike. That sounds pretty cool too. I get Shadow Infusion. Ooh, Death Coil's your active ghoul, so I need a ghoul. And I get Dark Transformation, which turns my ghoul into an ultimate badass brain-stomping death. What's missing? Where's my Summon Gargoyle from this list? Where's my Unholy Frenzy from this list? What the smack? What the hell? Why have you skipped those two very core abilities? Summon Gargoyle is a pretty core ability. Unholy Frenzy is a pretty major DPS cooldown. Where the hell is it, Blizz? In fact, I had to scroll through and find it upon pages of talents that are all mixed and matched together in my spellbook. Not liking it, Blizz, not liking it one little bit, but this is our choices. We picked the Unholy DK. It's going to tell you these four things here. Nothing that's changed from Cataclysm. We know all about these spells. We've seen them before. Happy days. Let's talk about our talents. Now, this is not going to be a totally negative video because I still haven't done my 5-man, but I will say Unholy, well, in fact, DKs need a little bit of love, Blizz, because these talents, quite frankly, are pretty shit. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to curse. You guys are used to it by now, but this is garbage. This is really bad. This is the garbage. Really bad. Now, these numbers are obviously wrong. This is going to be 15, 30, 45, 60. At level 15, we get a way of modifying how our AoE works. And in fact, we're going to see a running theme that a lot of things either revolve around slows or revolve around AoE. Okay, not much single target gravy going on whatsoever. There's no good single target jazz mixed into these. First of all, we've got Rolling Blood. Now, I actually think for a raid setting, this is pretty much the one to take unless the other situations call for it. Rolling Blood, your Blood Boil ability now also triggers Pestilence if it strikes a diseased target. Why am I saying that's pretty much going to be better for a raid setting? In a raid setting, we generally have ads that live longer than 30 seconds. Generally. Especially when they're raid boss ads. Now, when that happens, we like the idea, guys, that our Blood Boil is going to spread our diseases for us. It used to be an old talent, or an old glyph, I believe, way back in Ulduar days, that allowed us to do this, where our Blood Boil would trigger Pestilence pretty much. So let's say we're DPSing the boss, we've got our diseases rolling on that boss. When we fire off a Blood Boil, when all those ads come into play, our diseases are going to be spread automatically. The other way this also helps us out, guys, is one of the tricks of being a really efficient Unholy DK was tracking your DPS dots on all the mobs around you while you were doing a lot of single target tunneling, and then making sure you fired off that Pestilence at exactly the right time to refresh the diseases as they're about to expire, and not wasting runes by doing it too early or losing masses of DPS by doing it too late. With Rolling Blood, our Blood Boil is literally going to sort all that out for us, so we do not need to worry that our targets might not have diseases on. We don't have to worry about it one little bit. Don't have to worry about it at all. So very nice talent. GG on that one, Blizzard. Although you spelt rolling wrong, and it's called roiling. Vile Spew. Very interesting idea, but in practice, I think this one might suck. Vile Spew causes your pet. Now try to think of it like a Shadow Flame from a Warlock. Is it will spew out diseases onto the targets that are in front of you, and it will also do some shadow damage to them as well. So not only is it going to infect them with our Blood Plague and our Frost Fever, it's also going to do a little bit of extra damage on the side. However, look at the cost, guys. 60 Runic Power. That's a lot. That is a lot of Runic Power. It has no cooldown, which is interesting, but it's going to cost us 60 Runic Power in the process. Why is that a problem for Unholy DKs? We need our Runic Power. We need our Runic Power to make sure that Timmy is going to go ahead and be an ultimate badass. That's what a lot of our damage comes from as Unholy. Has that damage been quashed a little bit? We'll see in practice when damage meters come into the game. But I'm pretty sure that keeping Timmy dark transformed as much as possible is still going to be pretty crucial to our DPS. So Vile Spew looks too expensive for me. I would rather that cost maybe a Blood and a Frost rune. Maybe we skip a Festering Strike to do that. I wouldn't like it to cost Runic Power. Unholy Blight is back, and it's actually doing what it used to do. Unholy Blight surrounds the Deathknight in a swarm of insects that sting all the enemies within 10 yards every second, infecting them with Blood Plague and Frost Fever. I love this. I love the old Unholy Blight, and this is just coming back to the old days. And it also infects them with diseases, which is just fantastic. Really good. The reason I chose this for my demonstrations is in that 5-man environment, where the targets are going to be dying quite a lot. I'm not going to be able to keep roiling blood ticking over. What I'm likely to doing is going from pack to pack and refreshing diseases. Now, mixing Unholy Blight with Outbreak Pestilence, probably going to be a much better DPS for me in a 5-man environment. But just to show you how Unholy Blight works, we're going to... None of these targets have diseases on. Probably, in fact, he's not even bothered to put diseases on that target. Get it together, lad. If I fire off Unholy Blight, check it out. Diseases! Diseases! And they're just running a little circle. Diseases, 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 diseases. Our Unholy Blight's about to run out. And lol, I have just totally infected everything like the cheapest tie hooker in the world. Everything is diseased up. That's Unholy Blight for you, baby. And I really, really like that. That's cool. So all our diseases, everything is all infected to the teeth. Really like it. Really cool. Love it. They're really nice talent. At level 30, not 57, you lied to me, Blizzard. Why do you do that? We have some sort of defensive cooldowns. Now, this is where it all starts to fall apart a little bit. We've got Leech Bomb, which does what it does in Cataclysm. You're going to be immune to Charm and Fear and Sleep effects, but you are going to be undead, so watch out for that Shackle Ballers. Anti-Magic Zone, the old Unholy talent, is now an ability, does what it says on the tin, absorbs some magical damage for your raid and party, and we also pick up Icy Grip. Reduces the cooldown of your Death Grip spell by 15 seconds and causes the Death Grip to reduce the movement speed of the target by 50%. Feels very PvP, but so does Leechborn. My problem with this is there is no choice whatsoever for PvE. For any spec, remember these talents go across all specs, from tanks all the way down to the Frost DKs as well. And quite frankly, guys, what choice is there? There's Anti-Magic Zone. Unless that boss specifically fears us on a pretty regular basis and doesn't do much magical damage, we can only pick Anti-Magic Zone. We can. Leechbot is not very good in PvE. In fact, no DKs take it for PvE. We take Anti-Magic Zone, and if we had an extra talent point, we'd all carry it, quite frankly. But you compare these, there's only one choice there. It's very rare you're going to find a boss that doesn't do a lot of magical damage in some form or another. In fact, magical damage is the key source of most raid AoE damage in all of the bosses. It's very rare. There's a few odd whirlwinding bosses for sure. But in general, it's some magical damage, and not picking up a damage reduction of 75%. Blizz, that's not a choice. That's not fun. It's not interesting. There is no choice there. Don't like it. At level 15, 30, 45, we're going to pick up some kind of slow or movement-based talents. Now, again, this is where it kind of falls apart for me. Death's Advance. Movement impairing effects cannot reduce you below 75% of your normal movement speed. Now, this sounds cool. This sounds cool. However, will this negate special boss abilities? If we look at Hagara Heroic, who puts Frostflake on you, which starts to slow your ass down and maybe get you to get a nice icy iceberg right up your textbook anus, then this would be incredibly overpowered for fights like that, wouldn't it? So does that mean that it wouldn't actually affect boss abilities, therefore it's completely useless in a PvE environment? On top of the fact that we're not always really slowed, it's very rare, it's usually a specific boss mechanic that slows us, so in general it's useless, and then we add on the top that it might not affect special boss abilities, that renders it completely useless from a PvE environment. Not saying it's not cool for PvP, guys, remember this is a PvE orientated discussion. We then move on to Chillblains, which is the old Frost talent. Still does what it says. Our Frost Fever is going to slow mobs by 50%. Now, what we also need to bear in mind is for 5-mans, this is actually pretty cool. While the tank is done tanking our mobs and he's off to collect more mobs for us, we're keeping things nice and slow. We can DPS them down without the mobs charging away from us, and so on and so forth. Because the mobs will be following the tank. If the tank has moved on to the next pack, With Chillblains, we have naturally slowed them to 50% speed so we can finish them off nice and tidy and then move on to the next pack. Now, however, in a raid environment, we often don't want the mobs slowed. In certain situations we do, where we're doing some kiting or something like that, but in general, we don't really want them slowed. And then tanks might actually get a bit pissed that you're slowing the targets naturally. So that's something to bear in mind, guys, is that you might not want to have this talent. Let's think about that one for a change. And then we get Asphyxiate. This is going to replace your Strangulate. And now, this might seem a little bit familiar. Darth Vader. Lifts an enemy target off the ground and crushes their throat. Star Wars. And with Dark Energy, use the Force, Luke. Stunning them for 5 seconds. Functions as a silence if the target is immune to stuns. Replaces your Strangulate. 1 minute cooldown. Yeah, enough said about that one. We all know what it is. And again, in PvE, fucking useless. In PvP, that's probably pretty cool. We're getting a stun. 1 minute cooldown stun. That also goes on top of our silence. But in PvP, we generally be silencing the healers anyway. Does it make much of a difference? No, probably not. You're probably still going to be picking up maybe Death's Advance there. So you can't really be slowed. Again, I've picked Chillblains out of lack of choice. I would probably pick up Death's Advance for 5-mans maybe, but I'm not going to be slowed that much. And Chillblains isn't that useful. And then I might end up just picking Asphyxiate for the sake of using a talent, you know? But it's just like, meh. I don't like the idea of having to choose a talent because everything else is so bad. That's not a choice, is it? If everything else is just shit, you're obviously not making a choice. At level 60, we pick up a way of regenerating our health. Death Pact is still what it used to do. We sacrifice 50% of our minions' health to get 50% of our max health back. 2 minute cooldown on that one. Death Siphon. Deal 20,000 Shadow Frost damage to an enemy, healing the Deathknight for 75% of the damage dealt. It's going to cost you 1 Death Rune. There's no cooldown on it, and it's a 40-yard range. So if you've generated quite a few Death Runes, but oh my god, I'm about to get smacked in the face, you can just spam a few Death Runes off over a few globals and get yourself some nice health back. So it's going to get you about 15k health per go at this point, unless they've got some enemy debuffs and therefore they take slightly more magical damage. But in general, it's going to be about 15 to 20k heals on spammable ability. 5 of those bad boys. You're unlikely to have 5 Death Runes, let's face it. But you then mix that with an Empower Rune weapon, maybe. You can get yourself some pretty health back on demand. But it is going to cost all your damage. 20k damage in this environment isn't that much. Really isn't. We then have Conversion. Let's read this one, guys, and you tell me what you think. Conversion costs us 10 Runic Power and 10 per second. It continuously converts Runic Power, 10 of it, to restore 3%. 10 Runic Power out of our 100 to restore 3% of our 100 maximum health every second. Runic Power generation is reduced by 50% while conversion is active. This effect lasts until cancelled or Runic Power is exhausted. What? What the fuck? Who's going to pick that? Am I being insane? Am I reading it wrong? Or does that just sound like the worst talent in history? Hey, yeah, you can regenerate 3% of your maximum health, but it's going to suck all your DPS out. It's going to absolutely gimp you gaining any Runic Power, which is obviously for balance issues because they don't want people running around generating a ton of Runic Power with conversion on and essentially having an everlasting amount of heals coming into them. But wow, that's bad. If it's PvP, you want the heal on demand. It needs to be a big heal because you're in an oh crap situation. Ergo Death Pact. Soul Siphon if somebody's... Death Siphon if somebody's kiting you all the time. But even then, Death Pact's still pretty cool. Death Siphon, of course, has no cooldown, so we can probably count that as the PvP one. Conversion? Well, a PvE DPS DK is certainly not going to pick that up. Never going to pick that up. And unless something's changed dramatically with the Blood DKs, we generally don't have that much Runic Power to waste on that. We really don't. We'll have to see how that one plays out, guys, because I think that is awful. Really bad. At level 75, we have a way of regenerating runes. Now, before the beta even launched, and the guys over at Elitist Jerks, where they do a lot of the math on this kind of things, they read this and they kind of went, well, that says garbage as well, because there's only realistically one choice. And I'll explain to you why. Each Death Coil, Frost Strike, or Rune Strike generates you 2 blood charges, up to a maximum of 10. Blood Tap then uses 5 of those bad boys to turn them into a randomly depleted Death Rune. It's less RNG, I suppose, but really we have to build up these charges, so it's going to take us, 5 or so to get 5 or so Death Coils to build up the ability to regenerate runes. Maybe a little bit on demand, for sure. We need to fire off a couple of extra Scourge Strikes before that bad boy dies. We think Spine and Deathwing. We need to get in a couple more attacks. Our runes aren't regenerating as fast as we'd like. I don't like it. I've got to be honest, I don't like it. And then Runic Empowerment is the old way that Frost and Blood DKs used to work. Our Runic Power based attacks have a 45% chance to generate a rune randomly. Very random. Could sometimes work in our favour, sometimes didn't. But it was still pretty regular. 45% chance is almost 1 in 2. So it wasn't too bad. But then they gave us the option for Runic Corruption. Now, Runic Corruption is just so much better than those two, rendering the other two almost obsolete in my mind, unless I'm not feeling the way Blizzard has played out the class. And maybe we'll see some changes while we're actually playing around in the game. Runic Corruption, when you land a rune-based attack, a runic-based attack, you have a 45% chance to activate Runic Corruption. This increases your rune regeneration rate by 100% for 3 seconds. Why is this so much more powerful? It affects all your runes. Not just randomly regenerating 1 or 2. This affects all 6 of your runes regenerating quicker, which then allows to more runic power generation overall, and therefore more death coils, therefore more runic corruption. So it just seems on the face of it, at least to me, that is just so much better. You know, it seems crazy to me. So we'll keep an eye on that. But of course I've gone with that. It seems to make sense to me. I'm at level 90. Very underwhelming, Blizz. Although these abilities are really cool, they're not inspiring like, oh my god, I can't wait to test that, if you know what I'm saying. Like Avatar for the Warriors, for example. I can't wait to test Avatar. But then you get Gorfine's Grasp. Now this one isn't too bad. Let's talk about it. It's a 30-yard range. It's instant on a 1-minute cooldown. It's not going to cost you anything. Shadowy Tendrils coil around all the enemies within 20 yards of a target. So you pick a target to do this on, dealing some shadow damage and pulling them to the target's location. Now, it sounds on the face of it, this is like an AoE death grip. However, is it going to be slowly dragging them in? Quickly pulling them in? We'll see. It sounds like it's going to be a quick pulling of everything around it. Why is this cool? Because it allows us to set up a Killbox 1 alpha. That's right. If you've watched Transformers or Iron Man 2, in the words of War Machine, we don't want to be in the Killbox, Tony, because that's where things go to die. So what we can effectively do is to say, in a PvE environment, we've got ads coming everywhere. We've got ads coming left and right. If we look at Sinestra, for example, we've got a ton of whelps coming. When's the tank going to stop somewhere? So we set ourselves a marker. Now, you can even do this on a friendly target. So let's say the tank's really losing control as well. Look at the opportunities here with Gorfine's Grasp. We can stick a Gorfine's Grasp on the tank, and we can go, guys, right, Gorfine's Grasp now. And we can then pull everything to one specific location really, really quickly and then smash them in the teeth with mushrooms, AoE. We've got hurricanes, blizzards, rains of fire. We've got all that crazy crap going on. This could be a really effective tool if it's an ad-based fight. If it's not, then it's actually pretty useless. Remorseless Winter. If you've ever been chased by Arthas, you've seen this one before. It surrounds the DK in a swirling tempest of frigid air, dealing some frost damage and slowing the targets again. 15% for every stack, stacks 5 times, and if they get the 5th application, they are stunned. If, of course, they're stunnable. This is on a 1-minute cooldown. This is going to be overpowered in PvP, I expect. On a 1-minute cooldown, you're going to be able to stun everybody in a 5v5, 3v3, whatever's your poison. You have to watch out for this one, because that's pretty incredible. But again, in a PvE environment, garbage. Absolute waste of life. Don't like it whatsoever. It could be nice to fire off so we've got some extra AoE damage, but you compare that to setting up the bomb with Gorfine's Grasp, which seems to actually do more damage. We'll see. And Desecrated Ground corrupts the ground in an 8-yard radius beneath the DK. This used to happen from your Scourge Striker, from your old school Unholy DKs. It deals some nice damage. It deals around double the others, but it's on a double cooldown. For every second for 10 seconds, while standing in this corruption, the DK is immune to any forms of crowd control. This could be great for PvE, despite the fact that you're immune to crowd control. The fact that you can drop this on the floor while you're doing this huge AoE. If we don't need the ability of Gorfine's Grasp, we might like Desecrated Ground. We can fire that down. We're going to do tons of damage, 5,000 per mob every second for 10 seconds. That's a lot of damage, and we're standing that, and we're still not going to lose any control should that be necessary. Desecrated Ground seems the most likely for PvE. However, again, this seems very, very ad orientated. How many ad fights are we going to see in the raids? That's what I want to know. Is this really going to pay off in the end? Maybe Blizzard knows something we don't. We haven't seen the announcements of all the bosses, but it seems okay. The Glyphs are, again, AoE orientated for our Unholy DK. I'll only do the ones that affect Unholy. We've got AMS, which guarantees that AMS will absorb all the damage up to the absorption limit. Now, what I haven't tested is whether or not that will actually still start the cooldown. The cooldown starts there. It's still on 1 or 2 and still runs out, even with the glyph in there. So the usability of that is a little bit weird for me. Maybe it's not even working. We'll see. Blood Boil increased the radius of your Blood Boil by 50%. Boring, but I took it. That shows you how exciting the rest of these are. Death and Decay is another slow. Like, we needed more slows. Hell, I've got Chill Blains. What the hell would Death and Decay matter? Death Coil allows you to heal people with your Death Coil. Death Grip's boring. It's just increasing the range. Icy Touch is interesting. Your Icy Touch dispels one helpful magical effect from the target, guys. So we have a purge, effectively. Look out, PvPers. You now are able to purge friendly targets. So you can get rid of the shields off those priests, guys. You can do it. Mind Freeze reduces the cooldown of your Mind Freeze, but makes it cost another 20 Runic Power. Pretty cool for locking someone down if you're able to generate that much Runic Power. I just want to show you something. I know, I'll wait a second for that. Pestilence again increased the radius. I took that as well, and the rest of these are just garbage for Unholy. In fact, the best we got Glyph of the Geist here. Raise Dead spell now summons a Geist. That's not working at all. I have that glyph in. I've resummoned in. I'll show you again anyway. Why the hell not? See you later, Stone Ripper. Off you go. Let's do Raise Dead. This should instantly be a Geist because of my glyph, and it's not. It's Brain Tasker the Ghoul, so that glyph's still not working. Horn of Winter is going to give you a Snow Flurry. I'll show you that. It's just a little shiny effect. Nothing special. This is the best glyph so far in the game, hands down, no matter what your class. Glyph of Tranquil Grip. Your Death Grip no longer taunts. Thank you, Blizzard! Yes! Do you know how many times I was DPSing on my DK and wanted to Death Grip something, but I knew if I taunted it, it would gib me. Because if I need to Death Grip something in general, it means the tank isn't on the case. And he's not doing what I want him to do. I want this mob in my AoE Deathball Killbox 1 Alpha. Glyph of Tranquil Grip, we can now Death Grip away and it will still attack the tank. Awesome. Thank you, Blizzard. Quick overview of the spells, guys. 6 pages. This system is just ridiculous, Blizz. Why all these are all lumped together in the random higgledy-piggledy. This is just too much. This is too much. Remember, DK start at 55 and you just piled 6 pages of spells? Insane. And you've got Anti-Magic Zone next to Blood Strike, which is next to Chains of Ice, which is next to Dark Transformation. What are you thinking, man? It's insane. This whole thing is just too cluttered, too messy. We don't need to see all the Frost and Blood stuff. Who's going to flick through another 6 pages of Blood stuff and Frost stuff? Really? Put them down here somewhere so we can check them. But please, break down the other spells here. Even the active and passive screen was better than this. Now you've put active and passive all together again. Blizzard, Blizzard, Blizzard! Hey, hey, hey! Nothing much changed for the Unholy DK. Let's get that out of the way. All these spells will be recognisable. Nothing brand new, particularly. In fact, nothing brand new at all until we get to the end. We can still raise the dead. There's our Summon Gargoyle. It still exists, guys. No need to QQ. It's there. We also have Unholy Frenzy. That's there as well. Then we get into our passive abilities. What I did want to look at was this. I had to scroll all the way to page 6 to find it. Soul Reaper, our level 87 ability. So good. 1 Death Rune, 6-second cooldown on this one, guys. It strikes an enemy for 100% weapon damage and inflicts the target with Soul Reaper. Arthas. After 5 seconds, if the target is below 35% health, this effect will deal 78,000 shadow damage. What? What in God's name? If the enemy dies before this effect triggers, the Deathknight will gain 50% haste. This is incredible. I cannot wait till this is the game. Not only is it an Unholy DK execute, it costs us 1 Death Rune. We can use it every 6 seconds for 100,000. Well, essentially, I imagine around level 87, that's going to be around 100,000 shadow damage. It's got to be. And if the enemy dies, so we're using this in 5-mans just to get that mob with the debuff on, we gain 50% haste. We're going to be absolutely storming through 5-mans and adds, really ripping them to pieces. Really incredible. Look at that, it just dwarfs every talent that we've been given. That one little ability is so much better than everything else. Really look forward to that one, guys. That's our Unholy DK. I did want to talk briefly about even Plaguebringer. It no longer affects magical damage, guys. That's going to be your physical damage debuff. We're not doing the magical damage anymore, which is kind of sad. I like that Unholy DKs could spread that magical damage around to absolutely everybody. One thing I did want to talk about was presences. Now watch this. I'm just going to do some little DPS in our level 65 dummy. I want you to watch how quickly I run out of resources to be able to do anything. So I'm going to Outbreak on there. I'm going to drop a couple of Scourge Strikes. I've got a proc there. I'm going to do my Festering Strikes. Fire off my DK, Death Coils, and boom. Scourge Strike, do the Death Coil. Hope you come to me. Now look here. Look how long I'm waiting for something to do. And this happens very quickly. I've had a lucky streak of procs, but this is generally huge gaps in our play, guys. Huge, like there again, another huge gap. Look how long I'm waiting to do something. Absolutely forever. 6 or 7 seconds of not being able to do anything. So then I thought to myself, well, because I've picked up Runic Corruption, which means that my runic-based attacks give me the chance to regenerate runes faster. Come over here, Timmy. And Unholy Presence, it generally increases the regeneration rate of your runes. Frost Presence gives you a 100% generation boost to Runic Power. This could work a little bit synergetically, guys, because one, I can't use all the resources I get with the lower global cooldown anyway. But if I then mix in the fact that I'm getting a lot more Runic Power, which then gives me a lot more Runic Corruption to get all my runes back faster, are we going to see people playing Frost Presence? Just a question. I don't know. Don't take my gospel for this, guys. Don't take my word on it. There's Runic Corruption fired off. And then our runes are coming back pretty regularly. It's got to be said. But we don't know. There is there's something to be said for this. And I would like some people to look into this. I really would. It's pretty interesting to me that in this form I can use all my abilities really fine. There's obviously no damage bonus to Frost now like we've seen in the past. But I can never have a period. Well, there's one there. I tell a lie. That's back in the game. So we had a 1 second downtime then. But nothing major, and Runic Corruption is up, guys. Look, there it is. All my runes are coming back. Something to watch, guys. Don't take my word for it. I'm going to do the 5-man Unholy Presence to see how that rolls in. That's your Unholy DK, guys. Those are the changes for now. Nothing major, nothing to worry about. Everything seems pretty kosher. We'll jump in a 5-man now and see how it plays.